You're seriously wearing that to the engagement dinner. Wow, Azelia. I knew you'd show up looking like a disappointment. That was the first thing my mother said to me when I entered the hall. No hug, no hello, just humiliation. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe, like, and share if you've ever been underestimated, because this story will make you feel seen. Everyone turned to look. My cousin giggled behind her wine glass. My aunt raised her eyebrows like she smelled something bad. And my brother. He just sighed and said, "Can you not embarrass us tonight?" As if I hadn't already been doing that my whole life, just by existing. They all believed I was the family failure. I didn't go to college. I didn't post filtered photos in designer clothes. And I definitely didn't marry rich, like they all expected. I chose something worse. In their eyes, I chased a dream no one could see. While they threw dinner parties and showed off gold bracelets, I was living in a crumbling apartment, eating instant noodles and coding through the night. They called it laziness. I called it focus. Tonight, I was only here because my brother, Ryan, begged me to come. His fiancée, Harper, had never met me, and he wanted to keep things normal. Normal. As if anything had ever been normal for me in this family. The waiters brought out drinks, and the conversation turned brutal. Casual insults wrapped in laughter. Remember when Azelia tried to start that online thing? What was it called again? Jobless.com. My uncle chuckled. I wanted to walk out, but then something happened. Harper stood up to make a toast. Everyone got quiet. She smiled at the crowd and said, "Before I say anything else, I just want to thank someone very special." She turned toward me. The room shifted, eyes narrowed. Mine widened. "Because without you," she said slowly, "I wouldn't be standing here today with my startup acquired, and my dreams alive." Everyone froze. Confused, silent. She took a deep breath, then walked toward me. Leaned close. And whispered, "Wait, you built that platform? The one that saved my company?" My fork hit the plate. And that was it. The moment everything flipped. The silence after Harper's words felt like someone had pressed pause on the entire room. My mother's smirk cracked. My brother blinked like he had misheard her. And my cousin, the same one who'd laughed earlier, suddenly looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. I stared at Harper, unsure if she was joking. "You used my platform," I whispered. She nodded. "You built Talent Bridge, right? That name. The one no one in my family even knew about. The one I had poured 3 sleepless years into, while everyone called me a waste of potential. Yeah. I did," I answered, my voice shaking. "How do you know it?" She laughed softly, still holding her champagne glass. "Your platform helped me scale my remote team in 3 weeks. It literally saved my company from going under. And when I told my investors, they were so impressed, they offered to acquire us." I saw the room blink again, but slower this time, like reality was catching up. My father shifted uncomfortably in his chair. My aunt leaned forward, her mouth slightly open. Even Ryan looked like someone had just slapped him with a credit card bill he couldn't pay. Then Harper raised her voice and said, "Azelia isn't just someone. She's a genius. And most of you don't even know it, do you?" A nervous chuckle escaped from my uncle. "Wait, you're saying she created that multi-million-dollar hiring thing?" Harper nodded confidently. "Yes, and I wouldn't be where I am if she hadn't." I wanted to melt into the floor. Not from shame this time, but from the sheer disbelief that someone, finally, recognized me in front of these people. And not just recognized me, but defended me. My mother stood up slowly. "But, you never told anyone. Why wouldn't you say anything, Azelia?" I looked her dead in the eye. "Because every time I spoke, you laughed. Every time I failed, you celebrated. And every time I tried, you made me feel like I was nothing." My voice wasn't shaking anymore. Harper stepped closer to me and said, "I have a meeting with one of the biggest venture capital firms next week, and they want to meet the mind behind Talent Bridge." You could have heard a pin drop. And just before I could respond, Ryan finally spoke. "Wait, are you saying my little sister is a tech founder?" I turned to him with the calmest smile I'd ever worn. "No," I said. "I'm not a tech founder. I'm the founder of a $48 million company." And suddenly, I wasn't the black sheep anymore. I was the storm that no one saw coming. My brother's fiancée stood there, beaming at me, while the rest of the room looked like someone had dropped a grenade in the middle of their perfect little dinner party. $48 million. Ryan repeated, his voice barely above a whisper. I didn't flinch. "That's the valuation as of last quarter," He sank back into his chair like his legs couldn't hold the weight of that number. Across the table, my cousin choked on her wine. My aunt blinked furiously, trying to calculate something in her head, probably wondering how much she'd mocked me and how much she could have gained if she'd just shut her mouth. But it was my mother's face I locked onto. That smug expression she always wore when I walked into a room gone, replaced with a mix of confusion, disbelief, and something that looked suspiciously like fear. "You've been hiding this?" she asked, gripping her glass tighter. "No," I said calmly. "I've been building. You just never bothered to ask." Harper cut in again. I was serious. "By the way, that VC firm, they want to partner with you. They don't even know who I am. They're obsessed with the algorithm you developed. They've never seen anything like it." My uncle finally spoke, scoffing. "Well, if it's such a big deal, why haven't we heard about it on the news?" I smiled. That kind of smile that only comes after years of silent effort. Because I turned down every interview. I didn't build this to show off. I built it to survive, to win. A strange energy filled the room now. The same people who had dismissed me for years were suddenly treating me like a guest of honor. My aunt leaned forward, trying to fake interest. "You must tell us more about this talent thingy. It's called Talent Bridge," Harper snapped. "And maybe if you weren't so busy gossiping, you'd know it saved hundreds of startups during the hiring freeze." The tension was delicious. Ryan's voice broke through it. "Why didn't you ever tell me, Azelia?" I turned to him slowly. "Do you remember my 24th birthday? When you gave me a resume template and told me to get serious with my life?" His mouth opened, closed, opened again. "I didn't tell you," I continued, "because you never believed I could do anything serious. You believed in degrees. I believed in results." And just then, a server walked in, holding a bottle of wine, and accidentally dropped it. It shattered on the marble floor. No one moved, because at that exact moment, Harper turned to me and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Azelia, would you consider being my co-founder?" The entire table gasped. But I just leaned back in my chair and smiled. Because the girl they once mocked had just been offered the one thing they all secretly wanted. I didn't answer Harper right away. I let the question hang in the air like smoke, thick, heavy, impossible to ignore. My brother looked stunned. His fiancée, the woman he was about to build a life with, had just asked me to be her co-founder. Not him. Not one of his LinkedIn-optimized friends. Me, the so-called failure. My mother was the first to break the silence. "Wait, Harper, are you sure? I mean, Azelia doesn't really have a background in business. Maybe you're rushing. She built a multi-million-dollar platform from nothing." Harper cut her off. "With no funding, no support, no connections, I'd be stupid not to want her by my side." The insult wasn't even subtle, and, honestly, it felt good watching my mother blink rapidly, trying to control her reaction. My uncle leaned forward, whispering to my dad, "If she's worth that much, does she even need a loan to buy that condo? I heard you were trying to sell it." I caught that. Loud and clear. I turned toward my father. "Oh, the one you wouldn't show me because you said, it's not for renters." "Don't worry, I just bought a penthouse 2 blocks from here. In cash." That did it. His mouth dropped open. My mother's hand trembled. My cousin suddenly remembered something very important on her phone. Ryan rubbed the back of his neck. "I had no idea you were even doing all this. All I heard was that you were unemployed." I looked at him, no longer with anger but with something colder. "Yeah, because that's what everyone wanted to believe. You all needed someone to look down on. Someone to laugh at." I made it easier by staying quiet. But I didn't stop. I never stopped. Harper was still looking at me like she'd discovered a hidden diamond. "You don't have to answer now." But I meant it. "I think we'd build something incredible together." I nodded slowly, not committing yet, but letting the possibility linger in the room like thunder before a storm. And just when things couldn't get any more awkward, my aunt blurted, "Well, I mean, now that you're so successful, you'll finally be able to, help the family out a little, right?" That one hit hard. I leaned forward. "You mean the same family that didn't offer me a place to sleep when I was eating $2 noodles for dinner? The same people who skipped my birthday for spa days? You want me to invest in that?" Dead silence. Then I added, voice soft but sharp, "I already made my investment. In myself." And right before the dessert arrived, Harper whispered one last thing. "I never really felt like I belonged to this family either. Maybe that's why I saw you when no one else did. And I realized. Maybe she wasn't just a future co-founder, maybe she was the only real family I had. I stared at Harper for a moment, truly stared at her, and for the first time in years, I felt something I thought I'd buried forever. Belonging. Not because she offered me a business deal. Not because she defended me in front of people who had laughed behind my back, but because she saw me. Without labels. Without judgment. Just me. The dessert came and went, untouched. The room had gone from laughter and gossip to stunned silence and awkward eye contact. I had shifted the entire atmosphere and I hadn't even raised my voice. My mother stood up, fake smiling. Well, Azelia, I suppose we owe you an apology. We didn't know. I didn't even look at her. You didn't want to know. That hit her harder than yelling ever could. She sat back down. Ryan cleared his throat. I mean, if you ever want to talk, or grab coffee sometime. I looked at him, calm and unbothered. Maybe, but not as your little sister. As the woman you all ignored while she built an empire. My father finally spoke, voice low. We were wrong. I nodded once. Yes, you were. I stood up slowly, taking my phone, slipping it into my coat pocket. As I turned to leave, Harper followed. Wait, she said gently. So, what's your answer? About the co-founder thing. I stopped at the door. Everyone was watching, waiting to see if I would forgive, forget, or fall for the same cycle again. I turned to her and said, let's build something so big. They'll regret every moment they doubted us. She grinned. That's a yes, that's a hell yes. And with that, I walked out of the room that once made me feel small now, knowing they'd never be able to shrink me again. Behind me, the family that called me a failure now sat in stunned silence, while the world outside waited for my next move. They said I was nothing. Turns out, I was the foundation of something they'll never be part of. And this time, I'm not building in silence. I'm building loud enough for the whole world to hear.